Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. This is Blake Cousins, and we're breaking news right from the Citizen here in Washington, D.C. Stephen Bassett has organized a major event in regards to disclosure of the alien phenomenon, and we have Dr. J. Andy Elias with us right here at Third Phase of Moon. Welcome.
Thank you, Blake. Anytime.
You know, John, what do you think of the work that Stephen Bassett has done so far right there in Washington at the Citizen hearing?
Mr. Bassett has done a hell of a job amassing the former senators and congressmen to hear the testimony from retired military brass, FAA officials, and top ufologists in the world. It is an amazing push for disclosure. I think the senators and congressmen weren't quite prepared for the amount of evidence that is so overwhelming that it has to be looked at. And I really hope that the mainstream media finally picks this up, because at the moment they're still kind of mocking the senators, congressmen, and witnesses. But hopefully we'll hope for the best, and we'll see what happens.
You know, the main media refuses to even cover this event, but we at Third Phase of Moon really want to share what's going on over there in Washington. Let's take a look at this quick clip from Stephen Bassett explaining to the congressman of what's going on in regards to the alien agenda.
I want to comment three points very quickly. There's a powerful dichotomy here, duality, with respect to this issue. If there is one single non-human entity traveling around in the sky in anything, right, whatever kind of craft, that is a huge deal. But it's actually an extraordinarily simple thing. They're just here. There they are. One thing, one entity. So you accept that. Maybe it's proven to you. Then you move on past that, and then things go from very simple, they're here or they're not here, to extraordinary range of complexities and issues that are raised right here.
Also, Grant Cameron from Canada came forward to the Citizen hearing and explained some things in regards to Bill Clinton wanting to find out the truth. Dr. J. Andy Elias, can you go on to what you think he was talking about right there in the Congress?
Well, first, I got to commend Grant Cameron. He just won UFO Researcher of the Year at the 2013 International UFO Congress. He's an amazing Canadian ufologist. He spoke at this panel both on the history and background of UFOs and the Rockefeller Initiative. Now, in the 90s, there was a push for disclosure within the Clinton administration. There's actually a very famous photo where Hillary Clinton is walking with the Lawrence Rockefeller, the multi-billion-dollar guru, oil guru, banking guru, whatever he was all combined, where Hillary Clinton is holding a book on UFOs. Now, we know that through documents released that Lawrence Rockefeller and Hillary Clinton were pushing for her husband, Bill Clinton, the President of the United States, to disclose this to the public. Obviously, it failed, but the facts still remain that they did try, and I think that's what was a major event, was worthy enough of speaking it to the former senators and congressmen.
Well, let's take a look at this clip right there from the Citizen hearing of what Grant Cameron had to say of the Bill Clinton and Hillary investigation into UFOs.
Interaction between government and military, and it still comes down, if you look at Britain, for example, Britain now, the story is they're bringing out their files. They're just dumping their files so they can get out of the UFO business. Margaret Thatcher said when she was asked in 1997, you must make sure you get the facts correct and you can't tell the people. That's basically the rule around the world. It comes down to military technology, and I think a lot of the governments of the world are basically playing the same game, that they're trying to protect the military stuff and release the core story or release the sighting files. The little short statement, I'll try to keep it short, what I wanted to read was the fact that even though we're looking at a lot of secrecy, there was people inside the Clinton administration who actually did try to get this material out. They were trying to shake this. Bill Clinton, for example, had done some work with John Podesta, and he actually, in 2005 in Hong Kong, Bill Clinton actually was talking about this in public, and he stated that the vast majority of the people in the Clinton administration believe the story of Area 51. They believed there was a live alien, they believed there was a craft underground, and that Bill Clinton actually went there to try to get to the bottom of this thing. And he stated in 2005, after mentioning this, he said, "I'm probably not the first president they kept in the dark." or that bureaucrats have tried to wait out. So Clinton tried to get to these materials. He told Paul Davids, who is the guy who produced the Roswell movie in 1997, Paul Davids had a short 5-minute conversation with Bill Clinton, and he told Bill Clinton that he was fascinated with the subject of UFOs, and he was very interested in the latest Roswell book that had come out that was given to him at that time. And Bill Clinton had actually, as we look back in the files, Bill Clinton had actually given a job to Webster Hubbell. In the job, he said to Webster, according to Webster Hubbell's book, Friends in High Places, 1997, Hubbell said that Bill told him, if I put you over there in justice, I want you to find out the answer to 2 questions. Number 1, are there UFOs? And number 2, who killed JFK? So Bill Clinton was a guy who didn't believe the official stories of the UFO or of the JFK stuff, and he actually sent someone to try to get the answers to this material.
Dr. Greer has just released his movie series, and he's over there at the Citizen Hearing in Washington, D.C., and he spoke to our special correspondent right here, Dr. J. Andy Elias, in regards to some breaking news information. Can you explain this to us right now?
Yeah, Dr. Greer testified on Monday about the alien agenda, about Sirius, about the free energy, about the cover-up, about the Rockefeller Initiative. And tomorrow, he's testifying with Dr. Lear about alien technology. Today, after the citizen hearing broke out, but before their evening lectures, Dr. Greer gave me a phone call and gave me an update on what's happening over there. He reminded me that he's testifying tomorrow. He reminded me that there's some disinformation going on up there, but nonetheless, for the most part, they're making a lot of movement. They're making a lot of movement in the sense that they're getting these senators and congressmen to actually listen. Dr. Greer said the day after tomorrow he's going to be showing this serious movie to a bunch of international scientists in an effort to make these free energy machines, which ultimately, as he says, is the biggest agenda of what's keeping the disclosure from happening. But that was amazing to hear from him about the update from the citizens' hearing straight from D.C.
All right, now let's go to a clip from the citizen hearing of Dr. Greer's testimony before the congressmen and the senators right there in Washington, D.C.
Now, I want to touch on this for a moment because it deals with a little bit that Linda referred to in terms of trans-dimensional or other dimensions. And the technologies and the sciences dealing with this subject are what we have termed trans-dimensional interstellar, TDIS. And this refers to very advanced sciences and technologies where there is a nexus between electromagnetism and the magnetic field, gravitational forces in 3-dimensional space and time, and what Dr. John at Princeton in the engineering lab began to prove is the science of consciousness, which was actually an issue that I did talk a fair amount with Lawrence Rockefeller about. Now, a lot of people say, well, this gets into the deep end of the pool very quickly, and in fact it does. But I think that it's important to understand that if you're dealing with civilizations that have gotten here, and that's what we're dealing with, you're not dealing with something that can go just straight through space at the speed of light even, because the speed of light is too slow. And I remember when I was having dinner with CIA Director Woolsey and his wife, and actually the really most insightful question came from Dr. Woolsey, who at the time was Chief Operating Officer of the National Academy of Sciences. And she said, what I want to know is, how are these civilizations communicating across the vastness of space? Because your cell phone and radio waves are going at the speed of light. And I said, yes, that's just too slow. The speed of light is way too slow. And I had I had a gut check. I said, do I tell her the truth and lose all credibility as a scientist and a doctor? Or do I tell her something that sounds scientific, but that's really not true? And ever since then, I have vowed that if someone is intelligent enough to ask the question, I will provide the answer as truthfully as I can. So I turned to her and I said, well, Dr. Woolsey, it's like this. It turns out thinking is the best way to travel. And the speed of thought is not quantifiable. However, when you start getting into the new physics that have been done, where you have the ability to teleport across vast distances instantly, and this has been done with particles, but we're talking about civilizations that can do it with entire spacecraft and occupants. You're dealing with an entirely new physics. But their communication devices and their own innate abilities allow for thought-actuated events. And I know Dr. Wood may mention this, that he discovered when he was doing some work for old man McDonald of McDonnell Douglas, that he looked into some cases where in some meetings with these ETs involved a little box, and there was a direct thought communication, but it was also being facilitated through electronics. And this is something that we call technology-assisted consciousness and thought. And this is a very specific area of study that I've really devoted about 22 years to, which may be beyond the scope of this hearing. But I think that in terms of just bringing this issue around, there are so many aspects of it that are very exciting from the point of view of science, technology, and understanding the universe and ourselves. And also, who are we? And where did we come from?
Some amazing testimony being heard right there in Washington, D.C., and we have released the Alien Human Project, and Dr. Roger Lear is there in Washington, and he will discuss his implants removed from alien abductees. Any last words there, Dr. Andy Elias?
Oh, Blake, I'm really excited to see what the final day holds, and on top of that, this archive will be available for a month. They also make a documentary in a couple months, so this isn't over. Even though tomorrow's testimony is over, this push is not far from over.
Thanks again, Dr. J. Andy Elias. And if anybody out there has captured anything amazing in regards to UFOs, you can contact Third Phase of Moon via Skype or Facebook. My name's Blake Cousins, and we'll see you again next time.